How's it going, everyone? My name is Sinikle, and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry. Let's go ahead and continue off with the end of Chapter 11 as we enter into Chapter 12. If you have not watched the previous episode, please go do that, as a lot has happened. A lot of bad stuff has happened. And the rain is still continuing. I don't know if it will as we... Nope, it ends. Alright. New day after all. I guess I'd be lying if I said I didn't get any sleep. I tried to stay awake all night, but there were definitely gaps in my memory. I guess I kept nodding off and jerking awake in a panic all night. I spent all night hugging the metal bat and sat on top of the futon I used to barricade my door. Waiting, watching just in case someone tried to break in through my window. If I left this spot, someone would break through the door, sending the futon flying, and attack me. But if I stopped watching the window, someone would break through the glass and attack me. I tried telling myself I was just being paranoid, but I couldn't sleep. The thought of being so vulnerable scared the living daylights out of me. Understandable. If sleep meant taking that risk, I didn't need it. It was so much better to just stay awake. But dude, you need some sleep, or you'll start hallucinating and get even more paranoid. Oh boy. At some point during that endless cycle of nodding off and jolting awake, light began to shine outside. But that was it. It wasn't so much the morning, as it was just the sun simply having risen. I snuck a peek out through the curtains. Rena was gone. I couldn't see her anywhere, no matter how hard I looked. Finally, I could breathe a deep sigh of relief. The night was finally over. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tired, but I didn't feel like sleeping at that moment. I still had time, but I needed to make my own breakfast, so I'd better get started soon. Skipping school was also an option. With my mom gone, it would be easy to play hooky. Honestly, I debated it. The risk involved in leaving my house was incalculable. So staying holed up in here was probably my safest option. But staying here wouldn't solve anything. Oishi-san wouldn't help me without cold, hard evidence. Neither he, nor my parents. So, unless I found some sort of proof, these relentless nights would never end. I stretched my body, tilted my head back, and closed my eyes, just like I did every morning. I regulated my breathing and regained my senses. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. Let's go to school. Let's wait until they set their trap for me. But that didn't mean I was just going to twiddle my thumbs. I needed to avoid that trap and secure irrefutable evidence. Take note of the plates of any car that drives by. If I see someone suspicious, check their clothes and face. I wasn't just protecting myself. I was preparing myself to turn their attack against them and retaliate. The tension was similar to when two samurai were both aiming to slay each other with a single motion as they drew their katanas. I was not at a disadvantage. I would have a chance to retaliate. I finally felt a bit of courage growing in my chest. All right. Let's go to school. I tightened my grip on Satoshi's bat. He was the only partner I could count on. Satoshi, please lend me your strength and entrust your dying regrets to me, since you were probably murdered. I'll make sure I dispel them. With renewed resolve, I checked the clock. It was still early. Of course, I was going to school by myself today. If I didn't want to run into Rena or Mion, I needed to leave now. The shattered fragments of the cupboard were still strewn all over the entryway. Right. I meant to clean that up last night, but never got around to it with the phone call and everything. If my parents come back and saw this while I was at school, I would never hear the end of it. Still, I'll be wasting time if I cleaned it up right now, and considering what would happen if I ran into Rena and Mion, it wouldn't be too late to clean it up after I got back home. Making extra certain that the doors were locked, I left the house. My uniform was still covered in mud from yesterday, so I left it in the washer. Today I was going to school in a tracksuit. By wearing a different outfit this morning, my mind was forced to accept that today was different from yesterday. I had a hunch. Today might be the day I get killed. Keep your guard up, Keiichi Maebara. The only one who gets to decide if today is my last is me. Ah, shit, here we go. I spent that morning practicing my swing, like it was my natural routine. After a while, Rena arrived at school. Our eyes met, but we said nothing. Rena said nothing about last night, as if it never happened. But I could see that those events were real, by the wounds carved into her fingers. I just heard her telling Satoko and the others that the bandages were from hurting herself in the kitchen. Though, it wasn't like it bothered me. The details that Oshi-san shared about Rena's incident before her transfer played vividly in my mind. Now that I knew about it, I couldn't even dream of Rena as a cute, ideal girl. It was Mion. I had already sensed her approach, so I wasn't that surprised.
Mion か。わかってるなら放っておいてくれよ。俺は甲子園で忙しいんだ。
I gave her a curt reply, without my usual jokes. Then I gave the bat an even larger swing, tactically, keeping Mion from getting any closer.
Kei-chanさ、ちょっと休憩。
I think Mion got the message, but she still urged me to give it a rest.
ホームルームまであとちょっとだろ。もう一汗かかせてくれよ。
I swung the bat even harder as a sign of my refusal.
ケイちゃんって野球好きだったっけ？
最近好きになった。
最近って昨日から？
分かってんなら聞くなよ。
あれまあ、スポーツマンにしては爽やかじゃないお返事だことで。
気が散る。放っておいてくれ。
I ignored Mion and kept swinging. Normally, she'd get mad or bored and leave if someone gave her the cold shoulder like this. But Mion just stood there, waiting patiently for me to stop swinging. I didn't sense any hostility. But we were at school, in plain view. I doubt she'd suddenly attack me here. Or was that too naive? Still, I was starting to get tired. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad to take a break and hear her out.
何か用なんだろう。なんだよ。
Sweat poured from me as I stopped swinging. I noticed my shoulders were heaving, as I breathed. I cursed my lack of exercise. At this rate, I might not be able to move as needed when the time came. I should probably keep practicing my swings to build stamina in addition to the excuse for carrying the bat around me.
用ってわけでもないけどさ。
Don't forget to increase stamina. You also need to run a little bit. Get those lungs pumping, you know?
お疲れのようなら後にするけど。
今でいい。
I'm only dealing with you right now because I judged the situation to be safe. Talking to you alone and away from others? That's out of the question.
さ。
Mion was uncharacteristically trying to choose her words. But unlike Oshi-san, it didn't look like she was going to talk about something I'd rather not hear. Mion was puzzled, trying to find the right thing to say. But then she gave a hearty laugh to break herself out of that mire.
おじさんダメだわ、こういうの。ボキャ品はつらいわ。
Yeah, it does.
なんだよ突然。
I would know.
言いたいことがあるならはっきりと言えよ。
やめてよ。素振り。
Trying to tell me what to do? She cut straight through the point. Her request was so frank, I didn't understand it for a moment. I had already stopped swinging to listen to her, hadn't I?
ちゃんとやめてるだろ。
じゃなくて、
She means altogether, dude.
今日で終わりにしてほしいの。悪いけど。
It took me some time to understand what she was asking for. What's wrong with swinging a bat?
なんでだよ。余計なお世話だよ。別に誰にも迷惑かけてないだろ。
かけてる。
Mion said it flat out. That didn't make any sense, and that was really irritating.
俺がいつ誰に迷惑をかけたよ。
Mion was at a loss for words, but she finally made up her mind and spoke, though she stuttered as she said it.
だってさ、ケイちゃん、それ人のバットだしさ、無断借用は悪いし。
転校した生徒の忘れ物だろ。本人が取りに来るまで借りてるだけだよ。
ああ、まあね、転校したし。
Mion grew uncharacteristically flustered. That made it all too clear that his transfer was a lie.
でも変わってるよな。兄貴だけ転校なんだろ。妹は転校しなかったんだろ。
Mion couldn't hide her reaction as my words shook her up.
ケイちゃん、知ってたの？
王城聡、聡子の兄貴だろ。去年鬼隠しにあって消えた。
Unable to respond to that, Mion fell silent.
レナにも言われた。なんで素振りを始めたのかってな。サトシもやってたんだってな。素振り。それも失踪の直前に。これってさ、お社様のたたりに合う前兆ってわけなのか？
Mion panicked and looked around.
頼むよ、ケイちゃん。お社様の話はうかつにしないでよ。私はそんなに信じてないからいいけどさ、他のみんなはすごく信じてる。レナなんかヤバいくらいに。
やばいくらいに？
とにかくみんな怖がってるんだよ。もしもこれが悪ふざけならやめな。サトシの真似は絶対にやめて。
I was the one who was scared. Who do I have to thank for taking up this bat in the first place? But it still unsettled me knowing that my actions were overlapping with Satoshi's. It would be one thing if someone suggested it, but I thought I was making my own decisions.
先に言っとく。俺はサトシのことは何も知らない。みんなが隠してたからな。
隠してたってわけじゃ。
毎年起こる事件のこと隠してたろ。
それはケイちゃんを。
怖がらせたくなかったってのか？それが理由で俺だけのけ者かよ。
いや、そんなつもりじゃ。
ミオンに直にダム現場で事件がなかったかって聞いたよな。ミオンはないって言ったじゃないか。バラバラ殺人があったのによ。嘘つき野郎。
ごめん、嘘ってわけじゃ。
仲間ってのは隠し事なんかなしだろ。そうだろ。じゃあお前らは仲間じゃない。
ケイちゃん、そんなのって。
Mion looked helpless and flustered. Was I imagining the tears in her eyes? I never could have imagined Mion acting like this.
ああ、それに先日の見舞いのおはぎ、あれうまかったぜ。血が出るかと思った。やったのはどっちだ？お前かレナか？
私。
She admitted it so easily. I couldn't help but be surprised at how easy that was.
死ぬかもしれなかったんだぞ。仲間にあんな真似をするのかよ。
そんなちょっとしたいたずらじゃん。
Mion gave me a wide smile mixed with confusion, causing even more anger to well up inside me.
あれがいたずらで済むかよ。
I grabbed Mion by the collar and lifted her up. That wasn't the same as putting Tabasco sauce in a piece of mochi. It was a needle, a sewing needle. If I had swallowed that and it lodged in my throat, what did she think would happen? Mion's face froze as her body rattled in fear. This wasn't the Mion Sanazoki, probably butchered that, I knew anymore.
とにかくお前は仲間じゃない。仲間じゃない奴の指図は受ける言われはない。俺のことは当分放っておいてもらうぜ。いいな。
Mion wasn't replying anymore.
俺を消そうとしても簡単にはいかないからな。お前らは最初から警察に疑われてんだ。サトシを消せたように簡単に消せると思うなよ。
I said it clearly. This was my declaration of war.
俺も過去の事件はお前らが怪しいと思ってる。ダムの反対運動の時からお前が警察の世話になってたこともよく知ってる。隠しきれてると思うなよ。いいな。
どうしてそんなことまで。
Mion stood there with a dumbstruck look on her face. That was when I heard the principal ringing the bell for school. It was time for morning homeroom.
行こうぜ。委員長がいないとまずいだろ。ん？
At that moment, for the first time, I realized Mion was sobbing as tears ran down her cheeks.
ひどいよ、ケイちゃん。
I wanted to console her, but I shut my mouth. I had no need to feel guilty.
俺、行くぜ。ホームルーム遅れるなよ。
I left Mion, still shaking, as I turned around and head for the entrance. I had no idea how troubling it was to make a girl cry. Behind my back, I could hear her muttering. It was a faint mutter as she was speaking to herself.
そっか。
え？
She wasn't saying it to anyone. It was Mion talking to herself. But it was a sobbing voice that had a kind of giddy, cursing tone. I inadvertently stopped and turned back towards her. Oh my
ケイ
fucking
ちゃん
god.
に全部バラしたの。あの野郎か。
Oh my god, those fucking eyes freaked the fucking shit out of me. She balled up her fist as her tears continued to rain down. She glared at a spot at the ground with a terrifying yet smiling face, cursing. A chill ran down my spine from that demonic expression. This transformation, Mion's transformation, was different from Rena's.
あの時 殺しとくんだったな。今年で定年だからって容赦してやった恩も忘れやがって。
Retiring this year. Oshi-san?
ちくしょう、ちくしょう、あのじじい絶対に殺してやる。
It felt like the air itself had begun distorting. With Mion at the center, the world had begun to twist and spiral. Bending. Whirling. This was the first time I'd experienced such a visage. Mion made up an excuse for her red eyes by saying there was something wrong with her contacts. Without that, neither Rena nor Mion spoke to me for the rest of the day. Neither Satoko nor Rika-chan looked me in the eye. Strangely, I didn't feel hurt. Everything had just went back to the way it was. The month since I transferred in had been almost too much fun. That was all. School was supposed to be something like this to begin with. I should have disliked that feeling, but today it felt oddly refreshing. The bell rung, sounding the end of the monotonous school day, which had felt so tense yet so dull. Since it would cause a lot of unpleasant memories if they asked me to join in to the club activities, I promptly started preparing to go home without even looking at them. I stuffed the contents of my desk into my bag, wrapped my hand around Satoshi's now familiar bat, and began heading towards the entrance. I was assailed by both the exhausting relief that nothing had happened today, and the tiring possibility of the same thing repeating tomorrow. But deep down inside me, far beneath in the recesses of my heart, achingly, I knew this would be the last day of this cycle. This would be the last day of this cycle, yeah. I couldn't tell how the ending would be. Whether it would end as I wished it to end, or if it would end as I hoped it wouldn't. Regardless, in my current state, there was something more important than how things would end. There was something I wanted to know. Why did I have to be killed? How did it come to this? Why? For what purpose? The sunlight was relentless. The sun, the heat, even the air. They wouldn't give me my answers. Or could it be that the cries of the Higurashi were desperately trying to tell me something? Somewhere mixed in with their shrieks, Tamataki-san and Satoshi were also probably trying to tell me something. I simply haven't been able to realize it yet. When I do realize it, I wonder if I will be amongst the Higurashi fruitlessly crying to the next victim. Glancing down at my feet, I saw a Higurashi on its back, spasming weakly. Spasm! Oh my god. Bwee bwee bwee. There was still much of the summer left. Yet this one was already chirping its last song. I couldn't tell what it was saying, no matter how hard I listened. But I had to try. I had to try to listen to what it was desperately trying to tell me. Oh. At that moment, the shrills of the Higurashi ceased all at once, as if they had huddled together, hearing that the person who'd brought them to their dreadful fate had arrived. There was no mistaking it. A presence was approaching. The sound of footsteps was almost non-existent. If the Higurashi hadn't warned me by ending their chirping, I wouldn't have noticed. My exhaustion left me in a heartbeat. In its place was a rush of adrenaline that sharpened all my senses. I was just barely able to hold back that creeping, suffocating feeling of horror. It wasn't something I could hold back for long. But in this moment, when I needed to be razor sharp, I was able to retain my composure. I wasn't going to shout like I did yesterday. I hid myself calmly amongst the trees, waiting for my pursuer's shadow. Could I get them to pass by me? No. Since I was able to hear their footsteps, they were probably also able to hear mine. They might have already been able to tell that I'd hidden myself and was holding my breath. The person tailing me was a Rena, just like yesterday. If it was Rena, I wouldn't hold back. I could just yell at her and make her go away like yesterday. If it wasn't Rena, it would depend on how they acted, I guess. The footsteps ambled closer. I swallowed, wiped my clammy hands on my pants, and readjusted the grip on the bat. I could tell that the fear that I had beaten back once was now waiting for another opening to come at me. Who could it be? I peeked out from behind the tree at the person following me. Oh, my imagination hadn't led me astray. It was Rena. There was a bit of relief as I realized it was someone I knew, but that feeling left me in an instant. This wasn't the same Rena that I knew. Her eyes were dark and lifeless, but her mouth appeared as if it was carved into a crescent. Yes, it looked like she was grinning slightly, and in her right hand was a hatchet. I hid myself behind the tree once again and recalled the unbelievable sight I just saw. What was that just now? The embodiment of terror laid bare. Baseball, practicing my swing. There were tons of excuses for me to be carrying a bat. But for that hatchet? There was no excuse for that. A hatchet, just like that?
Keiichi-kun.
Oh, great, she knows I'm here.
かくれんぼかな?
Yeah, it's hide and seek. My heart was pounding. Hard enough that I had trouble breathing. What little composure I had been able to hold on to was now crushed. In its place, cold sweat gushed forth, covering my entire body, letting me know precisely what kind of emotion had taken hold. Not good, not good, not good. I wasn't able to hide myself completely. She already knew I was here.
レナを驚かせようとしたのかな?
I decided that it would be better to reveal myself now, since there was still space between us, than to allow Rena to come any closer. I adjusted my grip to my grip onto the bat again, readied myself mentally, and stepped out from behind the tree. Okay. Here we go.
ケイイチくん、見つけた.
Excuse me? I walked out on my own, bitch, okay? Rena was pleased that she had found me, eliciting a mysterious giggle. Her mouth was smiling, but her eyes told me she was displeased by the fact that I had been hiding. Those eyes, they were just so empty. My legs began to quiver. Not good. In the pit of my stomach, some sort of vicious, hot and cold substance began spreading around. If I swallowed it, that substance would slip into my bloodstream and undoubtedly freeze all of my organs in my body. Not good. Not good. I'll be devoured by Rena at this rate. Strike back. Don't lose.
何の用だよ?
I blustered, hiding behind my bravado. I don't know why I did. But Rena didn't flinch one bit.
ケイイチくんと同じ.
Oh, really now?
帰り道だよ.
Right, with a hatchet in your hand?
じゃあそのナタは何だよ?
じゃあケイイチ君のそのバットは何なのかな。
Okay. We're playing this game now, huh? Okay. Alright. Alright. We're playing this. Alright.
俺は素振りで。
じゃあレナは宝探しなの。
Ah, treasure hunting with a hatchet. That makes perfect sense. Rena gave a flippant explanation as to why she had such a fearsome weapon.
宝探し？
ダム現場の宝の山にね、また新しいかいいのを見つけたの。
You don't even say it the same. You're not Rena.
だからね、それを発掘するために必要なの。
信じるかよ、そんなの。
信じないよね。
No, I wouldn't. Rena's laugh was obviously very strange. I'd seen Rena's transformation many times before, but the one today was completely different. Like her mischievous tone and the shrewd glint in her eyes. It wasn't something that roundabout. I'm not sure what to say. It was just so obvious.
待ってよ、ケイイチ君。
No, 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 no. We're not playing tag with weapons. Please. No. Rena didn't stop walking, even as she let out that eerie laugh. Run, bitch, run! Whenever Rena got close to me, I would scurry away and turn back towards her. The cycle repeated over and over. No matter how you looked at it, I was being chased by Rena and was trying to escape.
ついてくるなよ。
それはできない相談だよ。レナの家もこっちだもん。
When I met with Rion on this road yesterday, she cowered and trembled as she followed my commands. But today was different. Rena didn't show a hint at trepidation. Actually, wasn't I the one that was cowering this time? If the way home for Rena and me was the same, that's fine. I'd just change my route. That'd work out, wouldn't it? No. I turned onto a side street I'd never been down and knew little about. But Rena saw me do that and followed me while laughing. Why? Why? Aren't you going home? Then just go home down the street you normally do. Why would you follow me down this weird little side road? Those thoughts screamed in my head, eventually spilling out of my mouth.
どうしてついてくるんだよ。
The tone of my voice was already tinged with terror.
ケイイチ君とお話ししたいから。
And get to talking, bitch, and be on your way.
ケイイチ君もレナとお話ししたいんじゃないかな。
Nope.
かな。
Nope.
俺は何も話したいことなんかない。
嘘だよね。
Nope.
相談したいこときっとあるはずだよ。
ない。レナと話すことなんか何もないよ。
嘘だよね。
嘘じゃないよ。
嘘だ。
Rena's scream echoed, startling some nearby birds into flight. Run away, birds! It's not safe! I cringed in fear. The only other thing I could do was increase my pace. Start running.
話しようよ、ケイイチ君。
Leave me alone!
お話。
Oh! Nope. I'm not even clicking. Oh my god. She's taking control of my mouse. Why was I running down this unfamiliar and deserted street?
ケイイチ君には悩んでることがあるんじゃないかな。
I don't yeah, I got lots I'm worried about right now.
ないよ。何も悩んでない。
Okay. Even though I was running, even though Rena was walking, why wasn't I getting any farther? I'm fucking worried.
わかるよ。わかる。レナはわかるよ。怖いんだよね、ケイイチ君。
怖くなんかない。何も怖いことなんか。
嘘だ。
My breathing grew heavy and it felt like my legs were giving out from beneath me. Rena wasn't even breaking a sweat.
レナだけは相談に乗ってあげられるよ。今度こそ乗ってあげられる。
I had no idea what she was talking about or what exactly she wanted to do.
今度こそ相談に乗ってあげられる。サトシ君の時とは違うもの。
When she said Satoshi's name, I turned back for a moment. But even as I did that, Rena was still advancing. I couldn't afford to stop.
サトシ君も悩んでた。辛そうだった。でもレナは相談に乗ってあげられなかった。とても悲しかった。
Where did the street connect to? All these twists and turns, up and downs. It was hard to believe that this was even remotely in the direction towards my house. My sense of direction had long since gone out the window.
サトシ君が転校しちゃった時ね、本当に後悔したんだよ。レナが相談に乗ってあげれば、サトシ君は転校せずに済んだかもしれないって、すごく後悔した。
Where the fuck are we going? I don't remember this part here. The road led me deeper into the forest. Wasn't I getting farther away from the village the more I ran? I lost more and more of my composure the more I thought about it. But despite this realization, my inner self was still disturbingly calm.
だからね、誓ったの。もしもサトシ君みたいに苦しんでる人にもう一度会えたなら、レナが助けてあげようって。 もう人が転校するところは見たくないな。
Damn it! What does transfer even mean? I won't let you transfer me. I won't end up the same as Satoshi.
さあ、ケイイチ君、レナに話して。レナはきっとケイイチ君を理解してあげられるよ。レナだけはケイイチ君の味方。
I started wheezing, out of breath. My lungs were so hot that they felt like they were going to explode, and my heart was beating as hard as it possibly could. I should have practiced running instead of my swing. Duh, I actually fucking said that before. Hello? I couldn't even afford to scoff at that stupid thought.
悩みがなくなれば、きっとケイイチ君も元通り。 みんなとも仲良しに戻れて、また楽しく部活ができるよ。今度は一緒に組んでみーちゃんをやっつけようね。
What the fuck? I actually leaves the screen. Oh, look at that. Can you see that? I wonder if you can. It like leaves the screen. The ha 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 ha. That was weird. Yeah, how much fun that would be. Rena couldn't even imagine how much I had wished I could turn back the clock on these past few days.
レナともきっと仲良しに戻れるよ。また一緒に宝探しに行きたいね。今度はお弁当も作っていくよ。なんなら今から宝探しでもいいよ。行こうよ、一緒にダム現場。見つけたばかりの可愛いの、ケイチ君にも見せてあげるね。
What is it? The missing arm?
きっとケイチ君も気に入るよ。
Oh, I bet. My footsteps made pathetic flapping sounds as my legs wobbled and faltered. Hot on my heels, Rena's steps were sharply breaking twigs underfoot. I had to accept it. I was on the run, being chased by Rena. If she caught me, it was all over. I realized it instinctively. I couldn't even begin to think of what the end would entail. Just that if I was caught, it was all over. That's all I knew. It didn't matter how it was going to end. I wouldn't let it end. Not without knowing anything. Not yet. That momentary lapse was all it took. Of all the things that could have happened, my knees buckled underneath me and I crumbled towards the ground. I tried to stand frantically, urging my legs to respond. I used my bat as a makeshift cane to prop myself up, but Rena was already standing right in front of me. Compared to me, out of breath and utterly exhausted, Rena was so cool and composed that she could have froze the air around her. She wasn't breathing hard at all. Rather, I couldn't even sense if her heart was beating.
何が怖いのかな。
Yeah? You.
怯えるなんてケイチ君らしくないよ。
Her expression looked almost affectionate. Those soulless eyes, that mask of affection. As she admonished. Wait, what? Okay, sorry. That word confused the fuck out of me. As she admonished me for trembling, Rena's hands deftly slipped over her head. The blur of arms as they moved made me feel as if I was staring at the godliness of the thousand-armed Buddha. Oh my god, why is it getting redder? Then as both of her hands met above her head, the hatchet that she held came into focus. I stared up at it in disbelief. It was all I could do.
教えてくれ。サトシはどうなったんだよ。
Wait. This is... It's a little bit... I'm so confused. Hold on. What? Rena stayed like that, with that hatchet raised above her head, and solemnly opened her mouth. It was as if she was expressing a farewell to a friend she was never to see again. That cruel scenario resided somewhere in her actions.
言ったよ。サトシ君は転校したの。
その転校ってのをやめろよ。鬼隠しってことなんだろ。そうだろ。もう教えてくれたっていいだろ。サトシを消したのは誰だよ。レナかミオンか、それとも村の誰かが答えろよ。
I became frantic the more I screamed, but Rena did nothing but maintain the smile frozen on her face.
ケイチ君が何を言ってるかわからないな。
じゃあ分かるように言ってやる。連続開始事件の犯人は誰だ。
ケイチ君は勘違いしてるよ。
え？
人間の犯人なんかいない。すべてはお社様が決めることだもの。
お社様のたたりなんて迷信だろ。レナは信じてるってのか。
信じるとか信じないとかじゃない。お社様はいるの。
Rena's gaze grew even more gelid. The ferocity of her stare was so intense, not allowing me to question anything.
お社様なんているわけが。
ケイチ君は信じないの？お社様。
信じられるはずないだろ。そんなのいるわけがない。
いるよ、お社様。ケイチ君だって身近に感じてるはずだよ。
そんなもの感じたことないよ。
ケイチ君さ、誰かに謝られたことない？それもずっと。
All noise from the outside world disappeared. Only Rena's voice resounded, loudly and terribly.
それはね、許してもらえるまでずっとついてくるの。学校へも、お家へも、枕元へも。
I couldn't understand what Rena was saying.
レナのところへも来たんだよ、お社様。だからレナは転校してHinamizawaに帰ってきたの。
I don't understand. I don't understand. What does transfer even mean? What was Rena saying?
ケイチ君のところにもお社様来てる。きっと相談に乗れるのは私だけ。ケイチ君を転校なんかさせないからね。
Rena's demented laughter clanged around inside my head. Bleh. Sorry, I was expecting a laugh but it never came, so I was confused. Okay. Was Rena saying Oyashiro-sama came to her as well? That's right. Last night I had heard about that when I asked about Rena.
他言無用でお願いします。また内容には一部憶測も含まれているかもしれません。すべてが真実ではないかもしれないということです。よろしいですね。
Oshi-san began speaking.
被害者も学校も告訴していないので、調書がないのです。つまり、警察が関与してないわけなんですよ。ですから、詳細は関係者からの聞き取りのみなのです。つまり、信憑性が高くない。
被害者って言いましたか？レナはガラスを割っただけじゃないんですか？
いえ、男子生徒が3人ほど竜宮レナに殴られています。金属バットでです。2人はあざで済みましたが、1人は片目に後遺症を残すほどの大怪我をしたそうです。
それって傷害事件じゃないんですか？警察は逮捕とかしないんですか？
どういうわけか、被害者が告発しないんですよ。警察に届け出がないので。
They were beaten with bat and suffered significant injuries. Normally, there would be a criminal investigation. But why didn't they press charges?
被害者の男子生徒3人にもそれぞれ話を聞こうとしましたが、全員口が重いんです。こう言ってはなんですが、怯えてるんですよ。彼女が転校した今でも。
大石さん、話を最初から整理して話してくれませんか？
Rena hit people while she broke the windows? Or was it she started breaking the windows after she got bored of hitting people? They sounded similar, but the meanings were drastically different.
某月某日、竜宮レナは親しい男子生徒3人と一緒にプール倉庫のあたりで話をしていました。
その3人って何者ですか？
個人名は伏せますが、3人とも竜宮レナととても親しい仲良しグループだったそうです。彼女はこう言ってんだったんですな。
So it wasn't that strange that the four of them were together.
それでどうなったんです？
理由はわかりません。竜宮レナはプール倉庫脇にあった野球部のバットを手に取り、3人を次々に殴り倒しました。
There were no witnesses. This was an account pieced together by the information given at the time of the incident. One day after school, Rena and 3 male students were at the pool storage shed talking together. They weren't seeking help, rather they usually met up there. It appears it became a heated discussion. At that time, Rena underwent a change. The change was so abrupt that the 3 of them didn't comprehend what was happening. Then, taking the metal bat, she attacked her friends one after the other. Leaving her friends covered in blood with gashes on their heads, she made her way towards the school building. Then she broke the glass windows one after the other. A few minutes later, a teacher appeared on scene and subdued her.
レナに起こった変化って何ですか
？3人の証言で一致するのは、突然人が変わった、豹変したという点です。
豹変。
I also could recall Rena's transformation. I'd seen that change many times before. It was so different from the usual Rena that I couldn't help but believe it was someone else who looked like Rena.
その豹変っていうのはたびたびあったことなんですか？
いえ、そういうのは全くなかったそうです。私も調べられる限り、彼女の過去や病歴等を追ってみましたが、見つけることはできませんでした。
そのレナみたいに突然人が変わる現象って結構あるんですか？
もちろんありますよ。精神的なものから性格的なものまでたくさんあります。
では レナには潜在的に表変する要素があったってことですか？
断言はできません。ですが、竜宮レナをよく知る友人たちからの証言では、とても彼女にそういう要素があるようには思えません。
Kind, caring, and adorable. Even before she transferred here, she was probably pretty popular in school, like she was now. That girl transforming suddenly and insulting them with a bat. Who could imagine such a thing? Nobody could have seen it coming. I, myself, sometimes believe that I was mistaken for thinking that was Rena, even now.
そしてどうなったんですか？
学校の正面が病院でしたので、3人はすぐに病院に担ぎ込まれ、手当てを受けました。
レナは、警察は、どうして警察沙汰にならなかったんですか？
警察は呼ばれなければ関与はできませんからね。
一人は後遺症を残すくらい大怪我したんじゃないんですか？どうして訴えないんです？
私もそこは引っかかりました。何かの圧力、もしくは脅迫があったのか、それとも訴えたくても訴えられない理由があったのか。
もちろん大石さんのことですから調べたんですよね。
ねえ、まあですが初めに言いましたよね。被害者たちの口がとにかく重いのです。触れたがらないというか、関わりたくないというか。
Reluctant to talk. Didn't want to touch it. Didn't want to be involved. It resembled the villagers here in Oyashiro-sama's curse.
学校の先生とかからは何も聞けなかったんですか？
学校は聖域なんですよ。隠蔽体質とでも言いますか。私も捜査令状を取ってませんから弱いんですよね。
じゃあ学校側はノーコメント？
いえ、事件の存在自体を否定しました。ですが某日、間違いなく病院に3人の男子生徒が打撲で担ぎ込まれたのは事実なんです。病院にその記録が残ってますので。
被害者は語らず、学校は否定する。何もわからないじゃないですか。
ねえ、その事件があったという事実以上のことは何もわかりません。被害者たちもこの事件が公になることを望んでいませんので、私と前原さん、私たち2人が忘れれば、事件はそのまま闇に消えるでしょうな。
If they wanted to be kept from the public, then I'm thinking two reasons why. One reason could be that they were about to sexually assault her in that shed. Because 3 men, 1 woman. Think about it. And then, of course, she transformed, quote unquote, and started beating them with a bat that she found in that shed. Makes sense, right? And then she started shattering windows, being upset about that situation, you know? Perfectly reasonable. Another reason why they were shut down from speaking about it could be that maybe this curse is real and the villagers responded in kind and pressured them not to say a word. So, I don't know. Could be one of the two. Anyway, that's my thought. For a brief period, we sat in silence. At first glance, it looked like a simple assault case. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. The depths were obscured by roiling waves. Roll? What? Sinking quietly into the void, as if it never existed to begin with.
その後、学校を謹慎で休学します。
Makes sense.
そしてその間、神経科医のカウンセリングを受けました。
その医者からは何か聞けたんですか？
Yeah, there's like patient doctor confidentiality and shit like that.
これがまた職業倫理のしっかりした尊敬すべき方でしてね。
Exactly.
口が硬いんですよ。もうとにかく。
警察手帳を見せてもダメなんですか？
書面で申請しろと言われました。
It's very tough to even get a warrant for that kind of, thing.
手帳自体に法的拘束力は何もありませんからね。
じゃあ大石さんはどうやってレナがお社様のことを告白したことを知ったんですか？
Oh yeah, true. How?
一部を聞いてた看護師さんがいましてね。
Nurse.
この方は手帳を見せただけで協力してくださいました。
それでなんと？
Turns out that the nurse hadn't heard everything. Apparently, all that she remembered was what she overheard from inside the room.
看護師さんが言うには、その時のリュウグウレナはとても淡々としていて落ち着いていたそうです。
It was more like she was confessing her sins at church than a counseling session. She spoke with her mother there for some of it, but partway through, her mother was asked to leave, so it became a private counseling session between just the doctor and Rena for a while.
例のお社様の話はどこで出てきたんですか？
途中です。その名前を突然叫んだのです。だから看護師さんもびっくりして聞き耳を立てたのです。
お社様です。
Rena suddenly shouted that. I had no idea what was being said. Wait, what? I had no idea what was said before that, so I had no idea what the meaning behind it could have been. The doctor, calmly and collectedly, asked Rena to have a seat.
そのお社様というのは何ですか?
Gently, ever so gently. A fundamental part of counseling is to be a good, patient listener.
Hinamizawaを捨てた人は必ずお社様に追われるんです。そしてとうとう私のところにも来たんです。
リュウグウさんが今のお家に引っ越される前に住んでいた町ですね。
私は引っ越したくなかったけど、お母さんとお父さんの都合で仕方なく引っ越しました。でもお社様は許してくれなかったんです。
リュウグウさんはきっとhinamizawa沢にもお友達がたくさんいたんでしょうね。今でも懐かしいんじゃないですか？
帰りたい。hinamizawa沢に帰りたい。帰りたいんじゃない。帰らなきゃいけない。本当はもっと早くに帰らなきゃいけなかった。でももうダメ。お社様が来てしまった。
お社様というのはそのhinamizawa沢の神様なんですね。
誰でも知ってるhinamizawa沢の守り神様なんです。それでhinamizawa沢を捨てて出て行こうとすると罰を当てるんです。
リュウグウさんが引っ越しをされたのはもうずいぶん前ですよね。では今になってその神様がやってきたということですか？
信じないでしょうけど、お社様はいるんです。
That nurse was then asked by another nurse to do something and left the room. That was all she remembered.
お社様がか。
The doctor was right to ask that, though. If it was a while between then of her moving out of Hinamizawa and then that incident, why now then? Like, say a few years have passed. Why would the god wait a few years then? Why?
確かにhinamizawa沢にはそういう迷信があります。里を捨てて出ていくとお社様の罰が当たるという。この辺りは前原さんもすでにご存知ですよね。
I knew very well what those scorned by the village incurred. To hinder the dam construction project, they cursed the construction foreman to his death. Then the following year, Sadako's parents, supporters, and leading advocates for the dam were cursed to their death. But this was the first time I've heard of the curse incurred by leaving the village.
初耳です。村の外敵がたたられるのはわかりますが、どうして出ていく村人まで。普通出ていくものはたたられないものじゃないんですか？
I know it's a bit strange to say it, but I could see it as a rule that the people who came in are the ones who would be cursed. Far from Jupiter, far from his thunder. Curses weren't something to chase after people that leave, Were they? Oishi-san pondered for a bit over on the other end of the receiver, then began speaking again.
hinamizawa が大昔鬼ヶ淵と呼ばれていたという話はしましたよね。
I recalled hearing that. Long ago, Hinamizawa was feared and respected as the village of ogres.
麓の村人たちは鬼たちを崇めていました。で、鬼ヶ淵は神聖な土地なので絶対に不可侵。むやみに立ち入るとお社様のたたりがあるとされてきたんです。
Ah, shit. Sorry.
麓の村人たちは鬼たちを崇めていました。で、鬼ヶ淵は神聖な土地なので絶対に不可侵。むやみに立ち入るとお社様のたたりがあるとされてきたんです。
There we go. Those who set foot in Onikakushi, in other words, Hinamizawa, would be cursed. I could understand that.
それはわかります。でも出ていくのまでダメってのは。
鬼たちもまたですね。属性に出ていかないようお社様に厳しく見張られていたんだとか。つまりお社様っていうのは属性と鬼ヶ淵の交流を禁じていたんでしょうな。
I see. I finally understood what sort of thing Oyashiro-sama was.
つまりお社様ってのは守り神ってよりも監視者なんですね。この地を外界から隔離しようとする。
そんな感じになるんでしょうな。すみません。私も詳しくないんです。この辺りはばあ様の受け売りでして。
I could understand it a bit better if it was like that. Those who came into Hinamizawa would be cursed, and those who tried to leave would also be cursed. So basically, you enter the village, you can never leave ever again, or else you die. So, because Rena originally lived in Hinamizawa and moved away, she fulfilled the requirements for being cursed.
つまりレナ
Well,
は
not
望まない
dying
引っ
all
越し
the
をした
time,
た
but
め
yeah,
お
cursed.
社様のたたりにあったと、そう話しているわけですか。
要約するとそういう意味なんでしょうな。実際この後しばらくしてhinamizawaに引っ越していますから。
Those who abandoned Hinamizawa and left were cursed. But then why only Rena? Shouldn't Rena's parents also have been guilty of the same transgression by moving away and have been cursed? Also, in this day and age in Japan, shouldn't there be a lot of people coming and going? And every single one of them were cursed? Then it'd be insane. But in reality, it wasn't that big of a deal at all. At most, there would be one person dying and one person disappearing on the day of the Watanagashi. I don't like saying at most, though.
まあとにかくわからないことだらけなんですよ。お社様のたたりがどうだったにせよ、クラスメートを金属バットで殴った理由にはなりませんし、被害者が訴えない理由にもなりません。まさか前原さんも恐ろしいたたりが起こって被害者たちがすくみ上がったなんてこと信じるわけないですよね。
They have nothing to do with the village. Why would they? And how would they know anyway? Of Oyashiro-sama. Of course I didn't want to believe it. But more importantly, I had just realized something else. There was another bizarre connection that Rena made between Oyashiro-sama's curse and metal bats. Satoshi fell victim to Oyashiro-sama's curse and went missing. I had recently learned that Satoshi had also become infatuated with the metal bats right before he disappeared, just like me. Then Rena as well. She was affected by Oyashiro-sama's curse. She confessed that much to the doctor. Oh yeah, holy shit, that's right. Everyone that's claimed to be a part of Oyashiro-sama's curse has grabbed a fucking metal bat. First was Rena, then Satoshi, now me. Like, that's a fucking bizarre connection. Holy crap. And the weapon which she had used at the time of that horrendous act was again a metal bat. And finally, me. I had encountered various things that were inexplicable, and now I was holding onto a metal bat. I was shocked when I learned that Satoshi did the same thing. It couldn't be. Had the same thing happen to Rena. But there was one critical difference between her and Satoshi's case. That being, Satoshi went missing after falling victim to the curse, but Rena was still here. Both of them had fallen victim to Oyashiro-sama's curse, yet they were met with different endings. Why? And finally, me. I couldn't recall it a coincidence anymore. I couldn't call it a coincidence anymore. Rena, Satoshi, and finally me. Could it be that I really was under Oyashiro-sama's curse right now? No. More importantly than that, what should I do now? Satoshi had been demoned away, finishing without a trace. Rena was fine. Fine? Rena had undergone a change. I could only believe that there was something that wasn't Rena residing within her. And here, right now, it was standing before me.
レナ、教えてくれ。俺はどうなるんだよ。
Rena stood imposingly, not answering.
サトシは消えた。だけどレナは消えなかった。じゃあ俺はどうなるんだよ。
I had never heard such an unpleasant laugh before. It had become akin to the sound of her breathing. It was no longer a voice or an expression of feeling.
大丈夫だよ。レナが助けてあげるから。
Rena took one step forward, still holding the hatchet high above her head.
さあ。
One step closer, Rena's face spread out to fill my vision.
話して。
One step closer. Rena's nose was close enough to touch mine, and was still pushing closer.
話したいことがあるんだよね。レナが聞いてあげる。助けてあげるから。ね。話してね。話してね。
I slumped down, landing squarely on my butt. It wasn't for some pathetic reason. It was all I could do to get as far away from Rena. I had the gut feeling that I couldn't let her laughter end. Because when that laughter ended, the moment I picked up on that feeling, my body moved by instinct. I sprang to my feet so fast, oh my god! And pushed Rena away with both hands. Strike one! Rena was as light as a feather. My god, you're so light. After confirming that out of the corner of my eye, I dashed off at full speed. I was the perfect picture of fleeing like a greased pig. What? Get away from Rena. Run away. Survive. I couldn't think of anything other than this. While I was running, I remembered I've been holding onto a bat the entire time. Such a worthless weapon. I couldn't believe I'd forgotten about this weapon at such an important time. My god, how stupid could you be? I sped even farther down the winding path. I didn't even feel myself gasping for breath or my legs getting heavy. My body understood it as well. If I didn't run away from here, I wouldn't live. I could hear the laughter of that simulacrum? What? Of Rena coming from behind me. Huh. That's one way to describe her, sure, okay. I wasn't expecting it. It ran through the trees and in my head and slowly chiseled away at my sanity. Bright! Oh my god, we're at the dam. Really? The grove of trees thinned out, and my field of vision suddenly expanding. Where was this? For a moment, I was bewildered by the scenery I felt I knew, couldn't quite remember. Huh? I quickly realized it was the dam site. The fact that I've dashed madly and ended up in a place like this gave me a bad feeling, like I was following someone's scripted plot. I had a good view of my surroundings, but I didn't see a single soul here. This was a terrible spot for someone on the run, but there was no better place for an attacker. My heart was already on the verge of bursting. The muscles in my legs were screaming, but I didn't care. If I stopped here, then they might not even be able to scream for much longer. Even still, I glanced back looking for an excuse to rest. Rena wasn't there. Instead, I saw two villagers walking around. I breathed a sigh of relief that it wasn't Rena, but a third party. Except the voice inside me ran the alarm once again. Villagers walking around wasn't suspicious in and of themselves, but it bothered me. They both wore rough-looking clothes. Empty-handed. They definitely gave the impression that they were just out for a walk. But at this time of day, two adults wandering around without a purpose, it was enough to raise questions. Oh my god, again? Jesus Christ, that scared the shit out of me. But more than anything else, those eyes. They weren't chit-chatting while walking. They were both silent, heading forward, looking in my direction. Was I at the end of my rope, and had finally started imagining things? I should run away. That was probably the best choice. If they weren't involved, I'd lose them easily by running. If they were part of the group after me, then they would come running after me. Either way, unless I hurried up, Rena would catch up with me. That's right, I was going to run. Deciding that the moment I began to turn tail, both of them rushed towards me, as if they knew exactly what I was thinking. Somewhere inside me, I had jumped to the conclusion that Rena was the only thing I needed to be afraid of. I made the assumption that I didn't need fear. I feel like there should be a 2 there. I didn't need to fear anything else. But right now I realized just how blatantly wrong I was. Suddenly, the story Oishi-san told me about the demons all leaving the village to hunt prey floated through the back of my mind. I could tell they were both coming after me, without even turning around because of their frenetic footsteps. It was frightening, being unable to shake Rena off as she slowly closed in on me. But this didn't even compare. Being pursued with such violent ferocity, this straightforward horror was unparalleled. One of the pursuers' arms grazed my shoulder. Now, it wasn't just their frenzied footsteps, but also the distinct sound of their breathing that I could hear. No, I could practically feel them breathing on me. They were already right behind me. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. Still running at full tilt, I felt the surrounding area go still. No, it felt like time itself had stopped. I turned my head back slightly in that frozen world, realizing how close my pursuers had gotten to me. I couldn't win against the legs of an adult. In less than the time it would take to blink twice, when this frozen time began moving again, they'd be right on top of me. On top of me, and then... Don't think about it, Keiichi. First, realize that you won't be able to shake them off like this. If the fact that you can't get away was a given, then you need to make a decision. Go with the right leg, or go with the left. You just need to decide which one. Let's go with the left. The moment I decided that, the temporal singularity burst into pieces. Right. Left. I swung the bat in a wide arc with my right arm. Using that inertia, I stopped and suddenly spun.
No!
The two of them were clearly startled, momentarily losing sight of me, both of their outstretched arms ready to grab me, instead grasped in empty space. The man on the right, I applaud him being able to figure it out, spun around to the spot I shouldn't have been, and faced me in astonishment. But it was too late. I didn't even need to swing my bat. All I needed to do was extend my arms as I turned around. It was by no means a heavy blow, but it seemed like it had enough power behind it to knock him off his feet. But just knocking him down wasn't enough to scare him away. He got back up in no time. Both of them took a fighting stance, and were ready to face me. This made me certain they weren't just two people out for a walk. They were clearly after me. It felt such easier than dealing with Rena. Just by not recognizing their faces, by not knowing them, it made things easier. I smiled wryly on the inside. It's fine if it was just a bluff. By barking out at them, I was able to fire myself up. They didn't respond. They spread out to either side of me, with unbelievably calm expressions on their faces. One of them would grab onto my bat, and the other would hold me down. Was that their plan? Taking on both of them at once would be impossible. Hot sweat poured down from every pore in my body. Then, I'd just have to settle it with the first move. I'd step in and strike the first one down. Narrowing my target down to the man on the right, who had already been knocked down before, I stepped in and swung with all my might. There was no way for an unarmed person to guard against it. It would cause immense damage. If they blocked it with their arm, their bone would snap like a twig. If they turned their back to it, then it was possible that the blow would travel all the way to their vital organs. It looked like he was aware of this. He pushed farther through the kill zone between us and delivered a fist right into my gut. Not good. With this distance, in this position, and in this state, there was no way for me to dodge it. The world flipped upside down. I understood that I was being tossed around like a rag doll. I landed on the soft earth without a sound, feeling the grainy soil press against my face. It didn't hurt at all. But the moment I thought that, I suddenly felt pain coming from the abrasions on my skin, as well as the contents of my stomach being forced upwards, flooding my mouth with a bitter sensation. I knew very well that I didn't have the time to relish this experience. I stood up as quickly as I could, but at that moment, the other man was already barreling towards me. Being able to comprehend calmly that I simply couldn't dodge it made it all the more upsetting. After plowing into my stomach full force once again, my assailant twisted around behind me and locked his thick arm around my neck. My throat felt like it was being crushed by his immense strength. I couldn't even contemplate that I was being strangled or that I was about to go unconscious. My vision simply darkened and a silent whining noise began playing deep inside my mind. It took everything I had to keep myself from blacking out. While this was happening, the other man was more than likely standing in front of me. I wasn't able to open my eyes, but I could feel that he was there. There was nothing I could do now. Unable to shake this arm off me, I couldn't run. I couldn't fight back. Dire straits. I couldn't even come up with a phrase that adequately described my situation. The fuck? A familiar ceiling. The smell of the bed and pillows. I knew them well. Was this my room? Normally there wouldn't be anyone in my room besides me, but their presence made me spring wide awake. When I did that, the pain shot throughout my entire body.
大丈夫かな？横になってた方がいいと思うよ。
Oh shit, this is the end. Oh shit, I remember this scene very well now. Here we go. Buckle in, fellas. Why was Rena in my room? Blood began to surge through my muscles and my capillaries. But Rena's smile belonged to the Rena I knew well. I knew I shouldn't let myself feel this way, but I relaxed thinking that this version of Rena was safe.
俺はどうして？
覚えてないの？
意識がなくなってからのことは全然。
Nothing at all. How long have I been recording for? An hour and 21 minutes. Well. My body had become more lethargic than I could ever have imagined. I guess that would be the expected outcome after exerting everything I had back there. I tried to at least clear my head, but I just couldn't shake the sluggish feeling out of my mind.
一応お医者さんにも電話したから、もうすぐ来ると思うよ。それまで横になってた方がいいと思うな。
I wasn't injured seriously enough to merit calling a doctor. But knowing that someone impartial was coming was slightly reassuring.
俺どうしてここにいるんだ？確かダム現場で。
それはレナが聞きたいな。何があったのかな。レナが行った時にはケイチ君倒れてて。
だから聞きたいのは俺の方だよ。変な二人組に襲われて。
As I talked about it, I finally remembered what happened right before I passed out. Recalling that memory and the terror that went along with it caused the fogginess around my head to clear right up. Let's forget about those two for now. I didn't expect Rena to be nursing me. I thought Rena was trying to kill me. She would have had the perfect chance while I was unconscious. Not only did she not kill me, she had nursed me back to health.
よく俺を引きずってここまで来れたな。重かったろ。
Looking at Rena's delicate frame, it was hard to believe that she had not only gotten me back home, but even dragged me all the way up to the second floor. Did she have some help?
ケイチ君、覚えてないの？
Rena appeared to be a bit surprised, but still kept her smile.
レナはケイチ君に肩を貸しただけだよ。大丈夫、自分で歩けるってケイチ君が。
That's a total lie. You bastards.
覚えてない？
I didn't remember. My memory was fuzzy after the point where I lost consciousness.
二人組はどうした？レナが来た時、俺と一緒に、あるいはそばに二人組の男が。
いなかったよ。
She said it bluntly. The way she stated it felt slightly unpleasant. I was just too timid to, I was just too timid at that time. I might have been able to force some answers out of Rena. But if I did that, then this kind of Rena might transform into the scary Rena, who I didn't know. Fearing that, I didn't press any further. Thinking about it, it was the obvious choice. If both of those men were there, I don't think Rena would even have stood a chance. I couldn't find a way to explain it unless I assumed she brought me here after those two were already gone. Rena was still smiling. Her eyes sparkled warmly. Yet, I felt like I was hallucinating when I saw something akin to a shadow slowly creeping across my face. Her face? What did they say? I'm sorry. God damn it. Yeah, I felt like I was something across her face. Okay. That small omen sent shivers down my spine. While Rena was still Rena, I needed to make contact. I needed to contact Oshi-san. Rena stopped me when I tried to get out of my bed. She said it would aggravate my wounds, so I should sleep.
トイレに行きたいんだけどな。
ごめん。
Rena couldn't say anything else. While Rena stayed in the room, I quickly went downstairs to get the phone receiver in the living room. When I approached the front door, the doorbell rang. Ding ding dong dong dong. It must have been the doctor Rena had called. It was strange for a patient to welcome in the doctor who was making a house call, but it would be incredibly reassuring to have him here for the considerable time it would take Oshi-san to get here. I carelessly opened the door with that simple assumption and regretted it almost instantly.
ミオン。
あれ元気そうだね。
It's day? Figured it would be night by now.
倒れてたって言うから様子見に来たんだけど。
なんで俺が倒れてたって知ってるんだよ。
レナが電話してきたから。他に理由が必要。
I understood why she would call a doctor. But why Mion too? Rena was descending the stairs behind me.
レナ、ケイちゃん大丈夫そうだよ。たく、心配して損した。そうだね。レナも心配して損したかな。
They both began laughing. It appeared to be a cheerful laughter, but I couldn't shake the feeling that there was a darkness looming over them.
うわ、何この下駄箱。どうしてたの？
The shoe rack that I'd smashed to pieces had been like that since yesterday.
転んでさ、その拍子に持ってたバットで叩いちゃったんだよ。
持ち慣れないもん振り回してるからこういうことになるんだよ。
I kept the fact that it was none of her business to myself.
でもこれじゃおばさまたちが帰ってきたらびっくりしちゃうね。後でレナが片付けておくね。
What the hell was that? What the hell was that? Did you notice that? It disappeared. She changed and then... What the fuck? It came back with additional stuff. What? Okay.
さあ、ほらケイちゃん。
I don't know. It was just weird. I don't know why. Okay.
重病人なんだからちゃんと寝てないとダメだよ。
Oh yes, I'm terminally ill. Can't you tell I look like a fucking ghost here?
さあさあ、お布団に戻った。
Leave me alone, you fucking crazy bastards! Both of them urged me up the stairs. I had no chance to call Oshi-san. Fuck. I was pushed into my bed. As it was the first time Mion had been in my room, she began searching around it intently. I think she's looking for the memo. She fiddled around my room and was scolded by Rena. You can imagine how it went. It was uncomfortable having my room poked around, but the conversation was so benign that it was heartwarming. During that innocent conversation, Mion said something as though it was perfectly ordinary.
レナ、監督には電話した？
The director?
うん。みーちゃんに電話した後すぐにね。すぐ来るって言ってたよ。
Director? That out-of-place word gave me a bad feeling. Rena called a doctor, then called Mion, and then after that she called called a director? Who was this director? Since Rena and Mion's conversation was so peaceful, it only felt slightly odd.
二人とも何の話をしてるんだよ。監督ってなんだよ。
ケイちゃん死んないの？監督って言ったら監督だよ。映画の監督とか。
I highly doubt that.
工事現場の監督とか。
Oh shit. Here we go. I dug through all my memories for a director who might have business with me. Only one thing came to mind. What Rena had just said. The construction... Damn it! Trigger happy finger. The construction site foreman. The very first victim of the first incident. The dismemberment at the damn construction site. The foreman? But that was strange. He was supposed to be dead. There was no way they could call him.
お前らが何の話をしてるのかわからないよ。その監督が俺と何か関係あるのか？来るって言ったけど、うちに来るのか？
I asked one obvious question after another. But all the two of them did was smile coolly at each other. There was a huge difference between how the two of them appeared and how my suspicions were playing out. Slowly I felt discomfort and panic welling up inside me. I couldn't understand what Rena and Mion were talking about.
ケイちゃん、最近は野球に凝ってるんだよね。監督、それ聞いたら喜ぶと思うな。
だから監督って誰だよ？
監督は監督さんだよ。
だから監督って誰だよ
Rena and Mion looked at each other and laughed heartily. That disturbing cackle unpleasantly resounded around me. That laugh, long enough to be unsettling, ended abruptly.
そうだ。監督が来る前に済ませとくかな。ケイちゃん、覚えてるかい？
Oh no. Oh god. Okay, here we go again. Her face was laughing, but Mion's eyes told a different story.
覚えてるって何をだよ？
ケイチ君忘れちゃったのかな。罰ゲームなんだよ。罰ゲームなんだよ。忘れちゃったのかな。おはぎの宿題。どれがレナの作ったおはぎかを当てる宿題。あれ、確か宿題忘れだったよね。
I certainly did have that homework. But I had thrown away the rest of the mochi after I found that sewing needle. So I wasn't able to answer which one Rena made. The penalty for that? Why now? No doubt my question was written all over my face. Their answer to my question was that dry laughter. I could no longer make heads or tails of anything. I began to think that this entire day was somehow insane. You're telling me. Strange. Incomprehensible. Being chased by Rena. Attacked by strange men. The penalty Mion and Rena were talking about. What were these two laughing at? It didn't take that long for me to realize I had been dragged into an abnormal situation. Who were these two? Who were these people? Who were these doppelgangers of Rena and Mion? Okay. Rena had gotten behind me at some point. Why was she pinning my arms behind my back?
何の真似だよ。
動かないでね。罰ゲームだから。
My body was already very sluggish, and Rena pinning my arms made it that much harder to move. I seriously tried to struggle, but she wouldn't even budge. My panic began to well up, and I realized this was beyond the realm of jokes and pleasantries. This freakishly monstrous strength, it would have been impossible for the Rena that I knew. Then, these thin, frail arms grasping me firmly. Whose arms were they?
ケイちゃん、抵抗しちゃダメだよ。快速大何条でもいいや。罰ゲームに抵抗しちゃダメなんだからさ。
Mion. No. That thing that looked like Mion spoke to me like how Mion would speak to me. But I was certain that this was not Mion. Someone who wasn't Mion. Someone who was just pretending to be Mion.
監督が来る前に済まさないとね。
Mion fished into her pockets and pulled out something bizarre. I could tell what it was just by looking, but for such a thing to be in her pocket, my mind wouldn't accept it.
なんだよそれ。
It was a small syringe. It was a small, clear syringe, the kind of doctor might use if you went to them with a high fever. Rena held me even tighter, and I could hear that clattering laughter that no longer sounded like laughter blaring into my ear. That eerie laughter. It wasn't something that the Rena I knew could ever produce from her own throat. This thing that was pretending to be Rena. Was this their real laugh? Unable to defend myself, the syringe Mion was holding drew closer, and that needle tip was waved in front of my face countless times.
大丈夫大丈夫。痛くないから痛くないから。
何をする気だよ。これは一体何の真似だよ。
ケイちゃん、何言ってんだか分かってんでしょ。
何が俺には何が何やらさっぱりわからねえよ。
知ってるくせに今さらかまととぶられてもな。
わけのわからないことを言って俺を煙に巻くのはやめろ。
富武さんと同じ目に遭ってもらう。
Oh fuck. The same as Tametake-san? I didn't... Oh, God damn, my trigger happy finger. I didn't really understand what she meant. What? You should remember. He was attacked by fucking a number of people and then drugged, and then he clawed at his throat. What did that have to do with the syringe?
ケイチ君、とぼけてるね。
I know, right? Jesus, he should remember this shit. I do.
うすうすは気づいてたくせに。
Rena whispered into my ear, laughing as if to admonish me. But even the way she spoke was repulsive beyond compare. Playing dumb? Me? About what? What do you mean? The same as Tametake-san.
みんな初めはひき逃げされたものだと思っていました。ですが、意識を確かめるために近づいた警官はすぐに異常に気づきました。喉がね。
ナイフとか。
Fucking Christ. My fingers. Trigger happy.
爪でした。
Nails? Nails as in fingernails? With those gouged through? That's right. Tametake-san had clawed out his throat with his own nails and died. There's no way someone could die like that. So then, for that to happen...
薬物を疑いましたが、
Here we go.
そういう類のものは検出できませんでした。
Hard to detect. Kind of drug / poison for you to go insane and claw at your own throat. That's right. The police didn't find any drugs in Tametake-san's system.
警察は富武さんの遺体から薬物は検出できなかったって言ったぞ。
What the hell? Quick. I don't. Oh my god. Whatever. The two of them laughed together with that sickening laughter. Yeah, you're telling me. Of course they'd laugh. To assume that such a medicine didn't exist just because the police didn't know about it was completely foolish. Meaning the drug that caused Tamitake-san to die in such a bizarre manner did exist? If Mion injected this into me, then that would probably be all the proof I needed. That would basically mean I'd end up the same as Tamitake-san. Become hysterical, scratching out my throat in my last moments, then die. For such an outrageous drug to exist, for Mion to be holding it, and that I was about to be injected with it. At that moment, I did not feel there was any need whatsoever to question it. What kind of idiot, when he's trying to dodge a ball flying straight for his face, has time to think of a reason as to why it's flying at him? Oh my fucking god, I swear to god, I'm not doing it on purpose. Oh my god. Mion's actions lacked any gravitas. Is that how you pronounce it? Probably not. Oh well, I don't care. And that made it even more terrifying. There was none of the ceremony like when someone is sentenced to death. There was no hesitation at all, as if she were brushing her teeth. What? Okay. Mion reached out with one hand and grabbed onto my chest. Wait, what? Oh god. It felt like electricity had run through the back of my head and the entire world had begun dark. No! Did I stand up too fast? Or did someone hit me really hard in the back of my head? Having lost my sense of balance, I was assaulted by a wave of dizziness. What the fuck? Hello? Am I in heaven? No. Probably for what I've done throughout everything. I probably did, you know. The hell? This is different. What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? I squatted down for a bit. When I came back to my senses, my entire room had changed drastically. The fuck? The numbness in my head was gone, and slowly I could tell blood was flowing to my extremities again. How long had I been squatting here? How many minutes? Or has it been hours? It was almost as if the hands on the clock had stopped moving the entire time. My eyes were closed. That's how little time passed. Really? The air in the room wasn't filled with that madness from before, only a dull silence. Rena wasn't there pinning my arms, and Mion wasn't there about to inject me with a needle. No way. Could it be all of it was a hallucination? There was no other presence in the room besides my own. Okay, this is new. What the fuck? Huh. Alright. Differentiate of the animus. Okay. Cool. It was the weirdest experience I've ever had. I was certainly with Rena and Mion. I doubted my sanity for a moment, but I was also seized with some sort of comfort. I guess that terrible ordeal was a hallucination. Neither Rena nor Mion, they wouldn't ever do something so terrible. My head grew hot. I could tell my emotions were welling up. Why? That wasn't a reason to cry. Why? It was sorrow. Why was I sad? I don't understand. I don't understand. Kind to everyone, not discriminating against age or gender. Mion. That Mion was sprawled by the window in an unnatural pose. Blood stained her a deep red from her head down to her chest. Oh, okay. No, it happened. It's still different from how it went in the anime. Okay. So, The dizziness was him like passing out, and then, his body just naturally defended itself and, killed the two of them. Okay, I got it. Bright crimson smeared on the walls. That splatter had undoubtedly come from Mion. She always had that bright smile and was kind to me from the day I transferred. Rena. That same Rena was slumped at my feet and was making the same pool of blood as Mion. I couldn't comprehend what had happened. Did someone come to save me? No. Then they beat these two down with this metal bat? I finally noticed the weight in my right hand. How long had it been there? It was Satoshi's metal bat. It was covered in a deep red. There was no doubt that this was the weapon used to mutilate both of them. And I was holding that weapon. I was the only person in the house. Looking at this objectively, I couldn't think of anyone other than myself who could have done it. That's right. Keiichi Maebara. Of course, I did it. I told myself gently, as if coaxing myself. Hey, me. There is no reason for you to remember it, nor is there a need to regret it. Eat or be eaten. You get that, don't you? Neither Rena nor Mion had moved an inch. It wasn't just a split forehead and a trickle of blood, nothing that simple. The entire room was splattered with red, and that told me it didn't end with just 2 or 3 strikes. The depths of my mind were calm, but on the surface, I was panicking and agitated. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. What happened to your usual calm self? Come on now. Do like you always do. Throw your head back and take a deep breath. Come on. Once. Twice. Breathe deeply. Calm down. Calm down. I chanted that over and over in my head and relaxed. Color came back to my vision and smells reinfused the air. At the same time, I remembered what happened when I blacked out. Oh, here we go. Rena and Mion had attacked me. They were about to inject me with whatever caused the same symptoms as Tamitake-san. But right before that happened, I fought back. I twisted my whole body and threw Rena as she was pinning my arms. Then I followed through with my spin and rammed my foot as hard as I could into Mion's torso. It was soft. Rena tried jumping on me, so I tackled her as hard as I could and slammed her against the wall. I didn't let that brief moment of having them off balance slip by. Satoshi's bat that was left carelessly by the side of my desk. At that moment, everything went pitch black. There was nothing recorded past this point in the videotape of my mind. No, that wasn't right. It wasn't that there was nothing recorded. It was recorded just fine. Just the other me inside myself had told me not to look and had turned off the TV. Just because the screen had gone black and I couldn't see it didn't mean that the videotape within me hadn't recorded it. The TV was just off. The video was still playing. The tape within me, creaking along, still playing. On the other end of the pitch black screen, that horrifying video was still playing on. Compared to this, though, the scene right before my eyes, was still so difficult to take in. There was blood splattered everywhere on the walls, the two of them in these unnatural poses. Not a sign of movement from them. I couldn't even tell if they were breathing. No matter what the circumstances were, my friends, these girls, I had attacked them. I may have even killed them. But if I hadn't done this, I would have been the one done for. Balancing that out on an unimaginary balancing that out in an imaginary scale, I felt odd that I'd even feel bad about it. Even if it was a bit excessive, this was justifiable self-defense. The proof was all there. The two of them collapsed here, and Mion's syringe. Mion's syringe filled with some unknown drug would certainly solve the mystery surrounding the incident with Tomitaki-san. And from the fact that both of these two were involved, they'd be able to pick out the criminals one after the other. Still, I might be suspected for this, but that was just fine. Anyway, now this should be a police affair. This wouldn't fade into the darkness like Rena's past incidents. As long as the police were involved, that should bring this to a close. They'll probably revisit their investigation on the chain of incidents. Oshi-san would definitely get to the bottom of it. Meaning my wish of not wanting to die, of wanting to know the truth, that would be fulfilled in its most basic form. It was all a matter of time now. The Dr. Rena called should be getting here soon. I'll confess everything to him. I needed to contact Oshi-san. At that moment, I remembered. Besides the doctor, a director had been called. It was easy to imagine that they were someone deeply involved in the incidents, judging from Rena and Mion's conversation. The ache in my chest, caused by the gruesome deed I'd done, dissipated rapidly. It was not over yet. This place was no longer safe. Stay calm, Keiichi Maebara. It's not over yet. I needed to live long enough to tell the police of this incident. At that moment, I felt like I heard someone's voice from outside. Since people were speaking, it just means that there was more than one person. I moved the curtain ever so slightly and peered outside. It was a bizarre sight. About 4 or 5 grown men were all gathered at the gate. They very much resembled the 2 men who had assaulted me at the dam site today. Those 2 might even be among them. There was one person there wearing a white coat, but he didn't look like a doctor at all. My gut told me he was in disguise, only posing as a doctor. That guy would probably ring the bell and get me to open the front door. Pretend to be a doctor and get me to open the door, and then the rest of them would all rush in at once. At that moment, I saw the car parked behind the men, and my heart nearly skipped a beat. The white van. No mistaking it. That van, the one that had tried to run me down. The man in the white coat entered the gate and headed towards the front door. The rest of the men hid in the bushes and watched him. I probably couldn't pretend that I wasn't home. Undoubtedly, they'd just break the window and enter. I needed to get out of here somehow. Then use the public phone to contact Oshi-san. Then meet up somewhere. First of all, I need a weapon. Then shoes. But before all that, there was one thing that I had to do. I had no intention of dying. I'd live and reveal the truth about this nonsensical curse of Oshi-sama. Oyashio-sama, sorry. Oshiku. Oh my god. Okay, you gotta understand, it's a long recording, okay? It's an hour and 55 fucking minutes in. Oh my god. Okay. But what would happen from here on, regardless of how determined I was, may bring back my demise. And that was why. There was one thing more important than getting out of here right now. The memo. Gonna update it? Yep. Damn it. The tape was stuck to it too fast. The tape was sticking to it fast. It would be fine if it was torn a little. I opened up the slightly torn note and began writing another passage with a ballpoint pen. If I wasn't able to inform Oshi-san, then the only thing I could rely on was this note. I never thought a piece of torn, college-ruled notebook paper could be this reliable before. I had no time. I'd only write what I knew right now. I needed to leave some sort of information that would lead them to uncover the truth. Rena and Mion were conspirators of the perpetrators. This was an undeniable fact. I still didn't want to believe it, but it was a fact. Anyway, I'd leave all this information that would help them lead to finding the perpetrators. There are 4 or 5 adults, maybe more. They have a white van. This was everything I was able to see from the window. There may be more. Also, there was that unidentified person known as the director. To begin with, the term director didn't even mesh with Hinamizawa at all. If they were going to include the directors from the past incidents, then the only one in the construction foreman is the construction foreman, the victim from the first murder. The very first victim in the chain of incidents. Killed in the lynching, his body divided into 6 pieces. His right arm was never discovered. The police should have confirmed that death. But Rena and Mion did both call him director. They said director. They wouldn't use that term to refer to someone who was dead. The police would never even conceive that someone who was deceased could be involved. Could that be some sort of oversight? I didn't know. But even if I didn't know, it could be a big hint for Oshi-san. That's right. They needed to start fresh from the first incident. It wasn't just a simple dismemberment, but the start of the string of mysterious deaths that would follow. So then, there must be something hidden there. Please, and reinvestigate the victim from the dismemberment incident. He's alive. His death should have been established after an autopsy. Logically, you would think as much. But was that really the case? Could it have been some sort of ploy that they were able to deceive the police with? I shouldn't jump to conclusions, but he may still be alive. I had no time to ponder that right now. Oh yeah. There's something even more important I needed to write. Tamitaki-san's death was from an unknown drug. That's right. That drug. It was an irreplaceable piece of evidence. No doubt, just by having this, everything would be uncovered. I couldn't just leave that vital clue lying on the floor. The syringe is proof. Writing that down, I stuck the syringe into the back of the clock with plenty of tape. So it absolutely would not slip out and fall to the floor. Firmly. The bell rang. They were here. I couldn't write anymore. But even still, there was one last thing I had to write. I have no idea why it has become like this. This may be the closest thing to the truth out of everything I wrote on this note. If you are reading this, then I am probably already dead. Though you may or may not find my body. if I was going to write out everything that could happen. Either dying from the curse, or being demoned away. You, who are reading this, please uncover the truth that this is my only desire. With this, my last will and testament was complete. It wasn't certain that I was going to die, but it was my final plea, just in case. I folded the note, stuck it back onto the back of the clock, and returned the clock back to its usual spot. I couldn't help but pray. Oshi-san, if something happens to me, I leave the rest to you. After that, I gazed down silently at Rena and Mion. This was probably the last time I'd ever see each other. We'd ever see each other, Rena, Mion.
みんなのこと、本当に友達だと思ってたんだぜ。
But why did it end up like this? I never had any fun in my previous school. I only worried about standardized test scores, about if the school I hoped to get into was where I really wanted to go, or a safety net. That was all I talked about. It was a dull life. The people I called friends were also my rivals in studying and competitions and personal records and standardized test scores. Everyone here taught me how unhealthy that lifestyle was. This month was really fun. Making a fuss over lunch, making a fuss over the club, making a fuss over the festival. Something hot began dripping from my face. Uncontrollable. Tears. I should have had no obligation to shed tears for them. But they wouldn't stop. Even if they were after my life. Even if they were trying to kill me. Everything that happened this month, I wouldn't forget it. Or could it be? Those happy days were all a facade after all. Was it all a trap? Meticulously orchestrated up until today to ensnare me? Could it have been that I had just arbitrarily assumed that they were my friends? That couldn't have been the case. Both Rena and Mion, they really were my friends. Those happy days, they were nothing fake or unclear about them. Someone probably forced them to try and kill me. Or their minds were taken over, possessed by the supernatural entity known as Oyashiro-sama. Regardless, both Mion and Rena, they were the best friends ever. And when they were coming after me, it wasn't for their own volition. But they weren't the kind of people to sell off their own friends. No matter what means were employed to force them. And there was no way such a thing as being possessed by Oyashiro-sama could happen in reality. Then did the real Rena and Mion come after me? What was I thinking? What a silly, dumb idea. Having beaten down both Rena and Mion, I was still debating if they were the real ones or fakes. There was no real or fake. Only the reality that was before me. Rena and Mion were sprawled out at my feet. That was the only truth. I was only trying to twist the facts to my benefit, that I had beaten my friends to death. No matter how I spun it, it wouldn't change reality. Rena and Mion were both dead. It felt like there was a crack in the dam of strange emotions I was holding back. It felt like my calm state, which was nothing more than a bluff, had receded, and in that opening, insanity was leaking out. I killed them. I killed them. Rena and Mion. I killed them. The doorbell rang again. The unrelenting echo pulled me back into a state of composure once again. I didn't have a moment to spare. Quickly, I needed to get away. I didn't want to die. I would uncover everything after that. the identity of whoever or whatever had pushed me this far. Even if I had to drink mud and eat grass, I would survive. I would survive. I would definitely survive. I killed Rena for that very reason. I also killed Mion. I went that far just to keep living. So I can't die. For my sake, and for the sake of the late Rena and Mion, I have to survive. I ran towards the door and grabbed my shoes. The doorbell rang again, as if to urge me on. Behind this single solitary door, they were there. Keeping quiet, I headed towards the kitchen. Headed towards the back door. Before opening the back door, I put my ear to it and checked for people outside. No one? After I put on my shoes, I opened the door slowly as to not make a sound. Shit. A piercing voice echoed out. That voice stabbed through me, settling my hair on end. I had to run. Get out of here, Keiichi. One after the other, I felt stuff like rationale and intelligence, those things you use when you have time to spare, spill out of me. I didn't feel any pain from the branches scratching my arms and forehead. My autonomously pulsing heart also felt neither fatigue nor pain. My entire being just wished to live. There was nothing else it desired. It probably had no complaints whatsoever. So of course, I wouldn't feel fatigue. I just ran. Just recklessly rushing in the direction I was already heading. Even if nobody was chasing after me, I'd still be running like this. There wasn't a thought in my mind about where I was headed. Turning around, I felt a presence right next to me. That presence was, without a doubt, chasing me like a shadow. If I took even one misstep, I would be devoured. That's what I thought. So I didn't turn around. I didn't stop. I ran. At full speed. That was the chirping of the Higurashi telling me it was evening. Trying to tell me something, and then I finally heard it. The wailing cry of the victims who didn't make it. Would I be joining them? Only the Higurashi knew. They knew everything. They definitely knew. So, I ran towards where I could hear more of the Higurashi's chirps. But the farther I ran, the farther away their chirping became. Bleh. I couldn't get near them. Why are you all running away? Was it my fault? Was I the one to blame? Then I'll apologize. I'm sorry. 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 I felt that only the Higurashi knew. God damn, there's a lot of pauses here. This is a long episode. I hope you're all enjoying this. If you are, please leave a like down below. And leave a comment telling me which part of this whole thing you like, you know? I like the whole chaos of it all. Because I live for chaos. The smoking room was filled with a cloud of cigarette smoke. The expensive smoke filter gave off some crackling electric noise, but it didn't seem like it was doing anything at all. Where the fuck are we and who are we? Why do smokers have to be shoved so far down this corridor where the sun didn't even reach? Oh, okay, I know what's going on. I know. I recalled hearing that the tax revenue from tobacco was about 1/10 of the municipalities, I probably butchered that so hard, revenue. We were the most heavily taxed members of this. Oh my god, how do you pronounce that? Munich is a polity? Ah. So I really wished they'd show us a little bit more respect. Yeah. Who the fuck are
どう
you?
してこれがウーマン切りなんすか？
How you pronounce that? How Manzu?
街が狭くなっちゃうっすよ。
Wait, what? Why would you discard the 5 Mansu? What? Oh, okay.
ウーマン切ってもテンパ
Oh
イ
shit, I
切れ
didn't
ませ
read
んか
that.
ら
I'm so distracted. God
海
damn it.
底にかけるなら両面で受けた方がチャンスあるんじゃないですか？
クマちゃん、川を見てください。
Yeah, we're Oshi-san right now. Okay.
ウーマンは全員切ってますから安牌なんですよ。終盤で K 点に走った誰かがダマで待ってたら嫌でしょ。
The kid let out another groan. Groan? Put out his cigarette, then took out another one.
納得いかないっすね。
They're calling him a kid? He looks only like probably 10 years, 15 years younger than you.
わざわざ自分で当たり牌減らすなんて。
ちなみに背底で当たり牌出しても論しちゃダメですよ。
どうしてですか？
Just then I heard a voice coming from down the hall.
おいさん、いますか？一般の方から凱旋です。
ありゃ、こりゃどうも。それじゃ、ちょいと失礼。
どうして論しちゃダメなんすか？あ、待ってくださいよ、大石さん。
Man, they take their Mojang seriously. The man sitting in the seat Oshi-san was heading towards waved at the telephone receiver.
凱旋です。講習から。
ああ、どうもすいません。お待たせしました。大石です。もしもし。
大石さんですか？もしもし。
前原さんじゃありませんか。どうも、こんにちは。
From the tone of Maebara-kun's voice, it's so weird being as Oishi-san right now. Holy crap. Because now he's calling him Maebara-kun and okay. Anyway, I already knew he was in a predicament. This was the first time Maebara-kun had phoned me, and he was calling from a payphone.
落ち着いてください。何がありました？
His voice was erratic over the phone. He had completely lost his sense of composure. After checking that nobody else could hear, I prompted him in a hushed tone.
何があったんです？落ち着いて前原さん。今そこに近場の警官を行かせます。私もすぐそっちに行きますよ。
多分無理です。
His voice was quivering and hoarse. He wasn't surrounded by people even as he was making this call, was he?
前原さんは今公衆電話からかけてますよね。どこの公衆電話ですか？
There were no other sounds besides Maebara-kun's voice. It had to be a phone booth. I scratched out a note and thrust it at my colleague sitting across from me. Hinamizawa, phone booth. He understood quickly and hastily started on the internal lines.
落ち着いて前原さん。
All for the proper location. Got it.
今どういう状況なんです？
It was best practice to avoid flustering someone panicking, but this was an urgent case. Maebara-kun didn't just get in trouble, get away, and then call me. He was in the midst of something dangerous right now. But yelling at Maebara-kun right now would just needlessly cause him to be even more frantic. Maebara-kun wasn't just calling to seek help. He was trying to tell us something more than that. And whatever that was, if I didn't get it from this call, I was certain there would never be another chance. Yeesh. My colleague pushed a note in front of me. There's only one phone booth in Hinamizawa. A patrol car is on its way. 5 minutes.
かかりすぎです。警らには何人乗ってます？
2人です。
Not enough. If it was as I imagined, there were likely quite a few people surrounding Maebara-kun. 5 minutes was too long.
南沢の駐在さんには電話しました。
定時巡回の時間です。家人は留守で連絡不能。
そう。クマちゃん、車を回してください。
了解っす。
もしもし、おじさん。
もしもし、大丈夫です。ちゃんと聞こえてますよ。
There was something wrong with Maebara-kun. That wasn't a normal coughing sound. Vomiting. Or was it blood? Had he already been attacked? Was he injured?
前原さん、今そこに警官が向かってます。2、3分で到着しますから何とか持ちこたえてください。もしもし、聞こえてますか前原さん。
I could hear on the other end of the line that he was having a coughing fit. The worst possible situation popped into my head.
前原さん、犯人は誰です？何人なんです？
俺も最初は人間が犯人なんだと思います。
I couldn't tell if that was a cough or vomiting.
大丈夫ですか前原さん。
犯人は人間なんだって。お社様のたたりなんかないんだって、そう思ってました。ついさっきまで。だけどやっぱり。
It was an intense bout of coughing, then vomiting.
でもやっぱりお社様ってのはいます。今。
前原さん、どうか落ち着いて。
なんかさっきからおかしいと思ってたんです。ずーっとつけてくるんですよ。走っても走っても走っても走っても影みたいにぴったりくっついて、だけど少しずつ俺の背中ににじり寄ってくるんです。
前原さん、そいつは今ひょっとして前原さんの後ろに
すぐ後ろに。
お願いです。前原さん、怖いのはわかります。ですがお願いです。あなたの後ろに誰がいるんです？
振り向けるわけないじゃないですか。振り向いたら俺。
怖いのはわかります。でも教えてほしい。ちょっと振り返るだけでいいんです。前原さんの後ろに誰がいるんです？
Right after I said that, I could hear him vomiting intensely. What followed was a nightmarish sound.
前原さん、あんたまさか喉を引っかいてたりはしないでしょうね。
There was no answer, but I could hear something like scratching. There was a bang, as if something was being hit. Maebara-kun had probably dropped the receiver. I could hear gnawing and vomiting over on the other end, and repeating abnormal noise.
もしもし、もしもし、前原さん、もしもーし。
I knew how far away my voice would sound on the other end, but I couldn't help but shout. At that moment I heard whispering, coming from the other end. I couldn't tell what he was saying. From the way he was saying it, was he talking to himself? Or was he talking to someone there?
もしもし、前原さん。
Rather than whispering, it was some kind of mantra he was chanting over and over. I focused my senses, trying to pick up what he was saying. What was he repeating? What exactly? Beep. Suddenly the line went dead. Did he use up his time? It was because it was a payphone. It was because it cut out so abruptly. The last thing he said came out so clearly in my mind.
おいさん、車は OK っす。 大石さん。
ごめんなさい。
大石さん。
That's what he was repeating over and over. He said, "I'm sorry." I had a gut feeling. There was no longer a need to hurry. I could hear the trip of the Higurashi spilling in from the open window. I should have been able to hear them this entire time. I just wasn't paying any attention. Why did I focus on them all of a sudden? Were they trying to tell me something? Only the Higurashi knew. That's how I felt. June 1983. In Hinamizawa, a remote village near Shishibone City, there was a murder involving 2 female students. The suspect is Keiichi Maebara, aged. The suspect called over his 2 female classmates, Rena and Mion Sonozaki, to his house and beat them to death with a metal bat. Incorrect. The scene of the crime was the suspect's room on the 2nd floor of his house. The inside of the room was covered with a significant quantity of splattered blood. Quantity, not quality. Oh, that's weird. Quantity of splattered blood, and there were signs of a struggle with the victims. Incorrect again. In addition to the scene of the crime, the entryway, living room, and kitchen all had traces of a struggle. Incorrect again. At the entryway, the shoe rack and wall had evidence of being impacted by a strong blunt force. That was true. It is believed to have been the same bat as the murder weapon. Also true. Having no traces of blood, it is believed that the destruction occurred before the murders. True again. There is the possibility that the suspect overpowered his victims to keep them from fleeing. Incorrectamundo. Corrupt people. In the living room, the rug had been pulled back, then thrown aside. It is hard to believe that this had a connection to the struggle with the victims, and thus the reason for this remains unknown. Oh, that was Keiichi's doing. In the kitchen, the garbage bag was torn apart, and its contents were spread out on the floor. Garbage was strewn about in the surrounding area, and handprints believed to belong to the suspect were discovered. It's his house, by the way, just saying. Of course his handprints are going to be all over the fucking place. It is believed that the suspect had, for some reason, taken out the garbage and struck it with his fists? What? What? The reason for this remains unknown. Okay, whatever. In addition, there was a note stuck to the fridge. The words, "Was there a needle?" were written on it. The meaning behind this remains unclear. Just in case, the garbage was searched, but a needle was not discovered. Damn. Though the garage door was functional, it had been left open ever since the suspect moved in. The garage door was found closed. The suspect's fingerprints were discovered on the garage door. The reason behind this remains unknown. The suspect fled the scene of the crime. However, a patrolling officer, Hinamizawa local PD, found the suspect collapsed inside a phone booth. At the time of discovery, the suspect was unconscious and critical condition. He was rushed to the local hospital for treatment, but did not regain consciousness and died 24 hours later. The results of the autopsy indicated the immediate cause of death to have been hypovolemic shock. It was determined that the suspect had clawed at his own throat with his fingernails, and the resulting bleeding caused his death. With a limited, sorry, I need a drink. With the similarity of the death to Tamatake-san the prior week, the police believe there to be a connection and have opened an investigation. However, due to the wishes of the local authorities, it will be a confidential investigation. What? Why? Due to the abnormal nature of the death, it was suspected that drugs were involved. But as with Tamatake-san, no traces were discovered. What prompted all this remains inexplicable. As such, this case is being treated as an act committed on impulse. However, with several accounts of the suspect's bizarre behavior leading up to the incident, it is possible that this was premeditated. Wrong. Separated from his group of friends, isolation, inexplicable behavior. Several days before the incident, the suspect began carrying around a metal bat. The suspect was observed displaying aggressive behavior, as well as talking to himself at school. His classmates have actually heard portions of what he was saying. 2 days before the incident, the suspect declared to his parents the possibility of his death. Due to these circumstances, the police have begun an investigation on the possibility that this crime was not committed on impulse, but was instead planned several days in advance. Afterwards, a note was found in the suspect's room that he had written himself. The note was written on 2 sheets from a B5 college-ruled notebook that had each been torn in half. Fuck, they found it. And as if trying to conceal it, was hidden behind a clock on the wall. The contents are as written in the appendix. The police believe it to be strongly related to the incident. The police changed their line of investigation based on the possibility that the suspect was involved in some sort of incident himself. However, no further clues were found, casting doubt on the credibility of the note. Fuck. Was the crime impulsive or premeditated? With the situation unclear and no further developments, the case had been labeled as unresolved. However, the following year, suspicion arose regarding the nature of the note. The note was not written on 2 halves of the B5 paper from 2 separate sheets, but was originally a single sheet of B5 paper. In order to erase several lines from the middle, someone had torn them out. Aha! Judging from the size of the letters, the missing section is estimated to be 2-3 lines. It is highly probable that the person who eliminated the lines in question is not the suspect. In addition, judging from traces of large quantities of cell phone, cell phone. Oh my god. Being stuck to the back of the clock. Speculation that something other than the note was stuck there has arisen. The person who first discovered the crime was a detective rumored to have a connection with the incident, Karuda Oishi. He underwent voluntary questioning, but denies involvement in any damages to the note. The suspect's note. I, Keiichi Maebara, am in fear for my life. I do not know why they are after my life. The only thing I do know is that it has something to do with Oyashio-sama's curse. Rena and Mion are conspirators of the perpetrators. There are 4 or 5 adults, maybe more. They have a white van. This is all in the first sheet. The section below this has been ripped out. This is from the second sheet. The section above this has been ripped out. I have no idea why it has become like this. If you are reading this, then I am probably already dead. Though you may or may not find my body. You, who are reading this, please uncover the truth. That is my only desire. Keiichi Maebara. Higurashi, when they cry. All right. Whew. My lord. A new scenario has been unlocked. All cast review section has become available to play it. Okay, yep. Cool. A new scenario? What could it be? I don't know. Actually sounds interesting. Might have to go check it out real quick. Well, that was Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 1, Onikakushi. I hope you all enjoyed it. It has been a wild ride. I loved it. I believe this in the anime covered episodes 1 through 4 or was 1 through 5. I'm not entirely sure, but if you want to check those out, relive it in anime form, watch it as a show, go ahead, do it. It's pretty good. There are some clear differences from the anime to the visual novel. I prefer the visual novel because it includes some very detailed things, and I like that. And although the visuals, the CG is pretty good, I just wish there was a little bit more to them, you know? But overall, it's pretty good, and I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because I will be doing more as I go into Chapter 2 next. So I hope you all look forward to those. There will be a new story, so look forward to that, as well as my other Let's Play series that I will be uploading soon again in the near future. So again, I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.